Good evening, everyone. We are back on a Sunday of all days. I think I just need to accept the fact that I shouldn't put a schedule down for anything or commit to any days because I'm terrible at hitting deadlines, and we've kind of had everything against us, really, and it's kind of down to the fact mostly that I'm really fucking busy, and I can't jump on live some nights when I think I can go live. And also, it was Thanksgiving last week, which was a complete oversight on my part because I'm a Brit. I don't know when fucking Thanksgiving is. We don't know that shit.
It's also excuse me. It's on a Thursday every year. So
Okay.
Thursday
Well, I'll have
probably...
forgotten that for next year.
Yes.
Yeah. But we won't have Andor Season 2 next year. I think they've confirmed that it's going to be a 2024 release date, which is to be expected. And you know what? If they can maintain the same quality they did for this series, then they can take all the time they need. Because, we're going to be talking about the finale, not just the finale. We're 2 episodes behind, actually. So it's worked out kind of well because the finale, if you will, is almost like a 2-parter. So I'm really glad that I had episodes 11, The Daughter of Ferrix, and episode 12, Rix Road. Both the episodes that I watched together in like a neat little double feature, and I think it works really, really well. And we've been saying that for most of the series, that I wish they'd have put these out in either 2-episode or 3-episode arcs. Hell, I think this series would have been benefited if all 12 episodes had just been released at once. And, maybe in the future at some point,
maybe
if I've got any free time, I might watch all 12 again in close succession, because I think that will really aid the viewing experience.
We were talking about doing a series retrospective at some point, right?
Maybe. I don't know if there's really an audience for that. We'll probably just group it into this one, in all honesty, because we'll be talking about the two. We'll be talking about the 2 episodes themselves, but we'll probably finish with our overall thoughts on all 12. But it is a series that I might consider going back to at some point because there's a lot I like about it, and I really enjoy the series overall. I don't think it's perfect, but I will say that after watching the finale and the places that the series has gone to and the kind of moral grey areas that it addresses and the lengths that people go to in war, I think it's definitely the best written thing since Disney have acquired Star Wars, in all honesty. I enjoyed Rogue One, but comparing this to that, it really makes me wish that Rogue One had have been a TV series. I think that would have been a much better structure for that film, and they could have really developed it out. And hell, maybe we would have actually got to know that entire cast of characters, sort of like we have done in this series. But that is one of my critiques on the series overall, which we'll get to at the end. So I don't really know how we're going to do this review. I don't know if we're going to review The Daughter of Ferrix first and then move on to Rix Road, but I think it's probably just easier just to kind of mash the 2 of them together and just review them as a whole, really. So I don't know where you want to start on this. I don't have any notes on this one, but I know that you've taken some down, I think. So if you want to kind of kick us off where you want our first major talking point to be.
Okay, we didn't do any of the intro stuff.
Oh no, this is okay. This is the time. This is our moment. This is episode 12. Well, 11 and 12. So I'm going to hand over to you first. Where can people find your stuff if they want to check your channel out?
Well, you can find me over at youtube.com/JXEditor, and I make fan edits of movies and shows and stuff. And
better. That's better.
You may have noticed I subtly moved to the side of the frame. That was so I could use my shoulder as like a guide to be like, okay, this line is where I put my finger.
But yeah, you're working on some stuff recently. I mean, we message pretty much every day, more or less, give or take. It's usually about Star Wars stuff and editing stuff, which is
one of us does.
Yeah, I know. I'm busy, dude. I can't help it. I need to get better at this shit. But yeah, you've been sharing some ideas with me, which I won't give away on here because I don't know when these edits are going to happen. But we're always throwing back ideas. It's really good. So definitely head over to JXEditor. As I've mentioned in the description of all these videos since you joined me on these reviews, the Star Wars aficionado. If I need some information on some deep cut Star Wars lore, I'm like, hey, dude, you've read like a shit ton of Star Wars books, right? Like, what happened? What was this character doing? But yeah,
like,
lots of interesting stuff, especially. Go, sorry.
I'm trying to like follow it with my eyes.
What are you following?
The JXEditor.
Why are you looking down on the floor?
Because it's down here.
Is it?
Is it? Am I not? God damn! See, I'm not looking at the screen because I can't look at the screen to orientate it because it's literally my eyes that I'm pointing.
No, it was just like I'm looking at the screen, and then you're like looking down here. I'm like, what's on the floor?
Because it's down there.
It's not that. Fuck it. Whatever floats your boat. Anyway, if you want to follow my content, give me a subscribe. Why not? I'm dangerously close. I'm like 2 away from 400 subscribers. So if you can get me to that milestone, that'll be fantastic. No pressure though. In that thing that's scrolling across the bottom of the screen, I am very aware that it says movie reviews. I haven't been to the cinema in a long time. There's a lot of big films that have come out, but in all honesty, they just really haven't taken my interest. I've kind of dropped off the whole superhero movie bandwagon at the moment. I just need some time away from it. So I haven't seen the new Black Panther film. I haven't seen the latest Thor film that came out. I'm still backdated from that. I've watched none of the Disney Plus shows. Not really interested. But there will be a big movie coming out in pretty much a month's time. It's the new Avatar film. All 3 hours and 10 minutes of theatrical runtime of that film. So that's going to absolutely kill me. But I will be at that film. And yeah. More quizzes and discussions and live streams. I don't know what I've got planned after this, but I enjoy streaming when I can, so that's all good. Give me a follow on Twitter, right there, going across the bottom of the screen, at Hobbit Fan Editor. I occasionally post things on there, so there you go. Anyway, let's dive into Andor. We've got 2 episodes to talk about. Where do you want to kick us off, dude?
The boots were a big deal in the prison.
The boots?
Yeah, like it was a big deal that they had like these boots on the wall. So when it opens and it shows Cassian and this guy with their bare feet just destroyed and against these rocks, I can't help but think, why didn't you grab any of those many pairs of boots that were on the wall?
Dude, they had to swim away from Alcatraz.
But they were on top before that happened. Oh, you bastard. Not you.
What?
I have my phone open for notes, and I got a message from some... Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay. No worries. Yeah, I think it's probably just... I can't remember it. Well, I'm assuming when they jumped off the prison in the last episode, they were all barefoot because they knew they were going to have to try and swim. If they're like really thick, heavy boots, you ain't swimming in those bitches. Like, you need to get them gone. So... Could they have slung them on their back? Maybe, but they probably didn't know what the terrain was going to be like or where they'd be climbing up. Were they heavy,
though?
I'm not sure, but you get the impression they've been clinging onto that wall for a long time. Like, you know, he's like, they've gone. And he's like, I can't hold. How long did they have to hold on to that rock for? Like, I don't know if you've ever been rock climbing or anything, but like your grip strength's going to have to be like through the roof. If they've been clinging to that rock like all day, all night, however long they've been on there.
I have been rock climbing, and you want to know something?
Go on.
I was in shoes.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point. I did think that the other prisoner was going to have more to do this episode. I don't know if it was going to be some kind of like buddy cop situation or road trip movie with like these 2 people, but when they part ways, I think, doesn't he mention that he's going to try and spread the word about this prison thing? I'm going to have to imagine that he's going to come back into it somehow. But yeah, I mean, where else do you take that story? It's like the Empire has prisons. It's like, you know, in other news, water is wet. There's no kind of liberation. Well, that's
debatable, according to some.
There's no like giant liberation front of Empire prisons, you know, at least probably not until the fall of the Empire at the end of Return of the Jedi. So I don't really know where you can take that story.
Actually, that's always bugged me. Like the lack of like consideration for Imperial prisoners. They destroyed the Death Star. And the thing is, we know there's at least one other prisoner in there because there was somebody there in cell block 1138.
When did they say that?
Prisoner number 1138, because they're bringing Chewbacca in, and they're like prisoner transfer with prisoner 1138. And he's like, I wasn't notified. I'll have to check it in. The thing is, that confirmed there's at least one other prisoner in there. probably a lot more.
Well, yeah, if he's prisoner number 1138, there's probably like another 1,136 prisoners in there, right? Because we've got Princess Leia as one of them. Well, no, Princess Leia is one of them too.
Fair enough.
I was counting for that one. That's why I said 1136.
She's in cell block AA23, which means 26 times 26 times at least 23.
Yeah. Oh, well. Well, were they occupied, though? They might have that amount just in case they need them, but
still, somebody's got to be there.
Someone's taking that chat. Well, as we learn in this one, sacrifice is all a part of war, which I want to talk about that scene as well, because that's probably one of my favorites. Once again, Andor continues to be the least interesting character this whole series. That, I'd say, is one of the pitfalls. So, as I mentioned, I really do like this series. We'll talk about this at the very end, sort of like our overall opinions on it, but the fact that it hasn't really won me over on Cassian's character. He's perfectly serviceable, but it's kind of like all this interesting stuff is happening around him, and he's just kind of been thrown into this thing, which I guess kind of works for a season one. You know, he's finding his footing, he's getting a foot in the door as becoming part of the rebellion, so a certain sense of being an observer to situations is fine for season one. I know the original roadmap, I've mentioned this before, was to have 5 seasons, and each season, similar to Rebels, probably was going to occupy all the way up into the lead up to the eventual Rogue One movie. But plans have changed now, and they've got 2 seasons, which Disney are actually probably grateful for, because I don't know what the viewing figures are on this, but no one's fucking talking about this show. I don't think many people have watched this show, and I don't know if that's a case of that it wasn't marketed well, whether it's just a character that people don't really care about, whether it's because it doesn't have lightsabers and it doesn't have space battles left, right, and center, or if it's just a case of brand fatigue, Star Wars fatigue, and people just really don't give a shit about Star Wars at the moment, which I think is a shame, because watching this, like, again, the most standout things for me in these last 2 episodes, and really the series as a whole, has been the world building and the tone. They're definitely the 2 strongest parts for me. Showing us a side to the Empire and the Rebellion that we've never really seen before, or it's never really been talked about in depth in this, and addressed certain things that this show has. I'll get into sort of like my favorite bits in a minute with where Luthen goes to see Saw Gerrera again. They must have been paying Forrest Whitaker by the minute, because I thought Saw Gerrera would have much more to do this season. And he gets like...
you thought that.
Well, I don't know. I thought we didn't really get loads of him in Rogue One, and I thought, oh, okay, this is our chance to see more of him. And dude's in like 2 episodes in 2 very, very brief scenes. And he's great in the scenes that he's in, but I kind of hope we get a little bit more of him in the next one, maybe. We could start talking about like Mon Mothma's character. If we're going to talk about sort of like character arcs for characters, I don't really know if she has one. She's still just trying to find her footing, I think, you know, sweeping some decimal points under the rug and everything due to the financial circumstances. But I like that we're having to see all of these characters make a tough call, and, you know, showing that the levels of dedication they have to the cause. Luthen had that great monologue at the end of, I think it was episode 10, where they talk about sacrifice, and, you know, he's given everything to this cause, and Mon Mothma's essentially kind of sacrificed her daughter in a way, to a life that she never wanted for a daughter, and marrying her off to a family that she absolutely despises. And that's her level of commitment, you know, and we see it kind of come to fruition between these 2 episodes. So I like that side of the character. I want more Mon Mothma. What can I say? I want more Senate scenes. I want more politics. But do you like the sort of journey that Mon Mothma's character's gone in this series so far, or do you think there's a lot more that we need to see from her?
I'm a little disappointed that we're not seeing Immune or anyone from the banking clan.
Yeah, well, isn't that a bit lazy Star Wars writing, though? Like, they talk about banking, and it's like, right, it has to immediately be a Moon character.
But I want to see a Moon character.
With hopefully better CGI than Attack of the Clones, because that one was... oof. Not
the
good.
banking clan will sign your treaty.
And I know people are going to argue it was 2002, but even back then, that thing looked like shit. Just looked really fucking bad. And that's the thing as well. I mentioned that because you've got the Plagueis book, and I can't remember the year that Plagueis book came out. I'm assuming it was well after Revenge of the Sith was a thing. I think that probably put the idea of a Darth Plagueis into the fan base, and then the book obviously followed much later. But
let me put it like this: the Tarkin book that's canon is one of the few books that was able to be transferred from it was written for Legends, and it was transferred to canon.
So that would have been on the cusp then. I guess that would have been around sort of like 2014 into 15, maybe something like that.
And the Tarkin book is essentially the sequel to the Plagueis book.
Right. Okay.
Like even Palpatine has the same droid that he took from Plagueis, and it references that was Plagueis's droid.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh, I didn't know the Tarkin book followed on that directly from that. That's pretty cool.
It wasn't that directly. There's one scene with Palpatine where he talks about where 1140 is there, and he talks about it.
Yeah, but even then, it's just like, okay, Plagueis was part of the banking clan. You know, he was a banker. We've got to make him immune, or whatever they're called. It's just not the whole race of this alien species is into banking. Surely, come on.
I think it's because Munilist had a huge gold supply.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
Is this kind of like a dwarf that all dwarves have to make shit and covet gold and mine and craft and forge? It's like every moon is a banking clan. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked from all that stuff, but I don't know. I'm trying to think has the show been sort of very economic with the time that it's spent with Mon Mothma, because she's been a focal character for this, but really the whole show's been very slow burn. But if you boil it down, it's just that she's horrifically in debt and the Empire's kind of snooping into the records and she needs to marry off her daughter. But I feel like they could have done a lot more with the character. It kind of got to the point where it was very repetitive for me, sort of week in, week out, and maybe season 2's got a lot more planned for her. Whether that's just kind of family problems and the stuff with the daughter and the relations with, this banker who she's kind of, is a brother-in-law now, essentially. But I think season 2, well, we're going to have to, because with all the time jumps, we're going to have to see her step up and be that leader of the Rebel Alliance. I am really worried about season 2, and I don't know if this first season was made with the 5-season idea in mind, or if they started filming this once they'd already worked out that it was just going to be 2. And that does concern me a bit, because I could have probably gone for more than 2 seasons on this.
When they did this.
Yeah, I could have gone for more seasons. I don't know whether we needed 5, especially if they're sort of 5 very slow burn series, but I am concerned that 2 is going to be incredibly rushed, and maybe Disney are usually very reactionary, and I think the reviews have been really positive on it, like the critical reception. I was kind of looking at the figures and the percentage of likes for each episode, and the first 4 episodes were kind of low, and then from episode 5 they've pretty much been at a consistent high all the way along. So but are they going to look at this and think, oh well, the viewing figures weren't great on this? Why? Oh, it's slow, it doesn't really have much Star Wars action in it, it's very dour, it's basically Star Wars for adults. Are they going to have a reaction to that and go, oh no, we need more space battles and we need more Jedi stuff in there? So,
well, I hope that's not the case. Jedi stuff just under the surface, or some pseudo Sith stuff.
Yeah,
have you
I
heard
don't know whether I want that though. I quite like this. It's a breath of fresh air. This whole show feels like a breath of fresh air.
Do you know the rumor?
The rumor? No.
So at this point, the dominant rumor is Luthen is like a Jedi in hiding. But right before right before that was Luthen is Count Dooku's secret apprentice.
No, I don't like either of those.
Yes. The thing is, he does have a lightsaber for some reason. And I'm really glad they didn't turn it on.
Yeah.
They went the entire season without turning it on.
I don't want it. I don't want them to do that. I like that he's just this dude who's part of the Rebel Alliance. I just really like that about him. He's a great pilot. We get some pretty cool space combat in this. Not a lot of it, but when it hits, it's it's done very tastefully. It doesn't outstay its welcome. That whole laser beam thing, I was like, that's neat. Haven't seen that before. Well, he tried spinning. That's a good trick.
What if he did that in the Death Star?
Oh, it just cuts the Death Star in half or something. Like
I don't know how. Well, depends.
I don't think it would have done much
far those
damage.
Beams would go, but like, yeah.
Well, they don't know about it anyway, do they? So it's all academic at this point. I mean, we've got the background right there, which is the post-credit scene of the final episode. But
actually, wait. Now that I think about it, that laser is similar to, I think, the B-wing or something in Rebels, which makes me wonder: is that subtly connected to that because it is around this time that Rebels is taking place? But I don't. But the only thing I can use to kind of like place to, excuse me, to be like, okay, I know at this point in Rebels, all of this has already happened, and that's when Mon Mothma declares the rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember where this is in relation to that.
I think we do see a lot of modded ships, though, don't we? In this, I think, is it the final one that Bix flies away and looks like a modified Y-wing, I think, or there's a ship in there that looks like a Y-wing, definitely. I can't remember if it was that ship in particular, but there was definitely one that I remember picking up on.
Yeah, and the prison looked like the Imperial emblem.
Yeah, it did.
It didn't. It did not, though.
It really did. It's very similar. It's incredibly similar. I would die on this hill, goddammit.
It's a dumb hill. It's a really dumb hill.
I want to talk about one of my favorite scenes in this episode. I'm going to change the subject, but
are we on? When you say this episode, are we talking about 11 or 12?
11. Sorry, 11. Okay. When Luthen goes to see Saw Gerrera again. I really, really like this exchange and just the moral dilemma of that, and the fact that this is as close. I think that what I love about this show is how realistic it kind of depicts the onset of war and rebellion and rioting and everything like that. And you would imagine that it would be all these kind of skirmishes and undercover missions and people knowing information and still sending people to their deaths. You would have had that loads in World War One and World War Two and everything, always looking for sort of like the end goal. Exactly. And when they know I think it's Krieger, isn't it? Is that the guy's name? Krieger and 30 men are basically marching to their death. That the ISB knows that what they've got planned, and they're going to have like a garrison of troops there ready to just absolutely slaughter them. Do they warn the 30 guys in Krieger in order to save their men, or do they let them march to their deaths in order to cover up this, this greater plan that they've got? And Saw Gerrera is kind of evading the question at first. He's not coming up with an answer, but then, he kind of relents and agrees with Luthen, saying it's the greater good. This the
greater
is the
good.
The greater good. But I love that exchange, and I love that this show goes to those places. We haven't really seen that side of Star Wars before, or seeing the rebellion as not being this ruthless organization, but, being principled. They're not afraid to go to certain lengths to achieve a certain goal, no matter the cost, essentially. And I just love that this show's got into that.
Also, so far in canon, we've seen Saw during the Clone Wars, 5 years after the Clone Wars, and 20 years after the Clone Wars. So I like how this is a really good middle ground between what we see in Fallen Order and what we see in Rogue One. You came to kill me. Just things like that. He's not broken yet, but he is cracked.
Yeah, he's definitely getting there. He's definitely got more of his wits about him in this. But when Mon Mothma says like, "Oh, he's an extremist," even for the rebellion in Rogue One, you're definitely seeing that already, which is great. No, I absolutely love Forrest Whitaker in this, and I just kind of want more of him. I want to see more of his character. You could tell that they just shot all of his scenes in a day. It was like the same set. He was sat at the same table, and it's I like that my guy got more screen time as well. The fucking gas mask alien thing.
The guy who was going to destroy that planet in the comics. Don't worry.
Yes, the guy who's like just pulling everyone out of the cave when the Death Star shoots its... I don't know. I love the look of that character. Rogue One was so good for like all those background alien characters, and it really got me jazzed way more than The Force Awakens did. which is probably why I ended up going to see Rogue One at the cinema 6 times. I was like, oh, so this is what coming out of a Star Wars film that I actually really enjoyed feels like. And then the rest of them happened. But I really enjoyed Rogue One at the time. Did I overhype it? Probably yes. Does it hit the same way as it did back then for me? Absolutely not. But I still do enjoy Rogue One. And I really hope with season 2 as well that it helps kind of bolster Rogue One a little bit. I'd still like to see some other spin-offs on some of the other characters. I never thought I'd be saying this, but like I could go for a Jyn Erso series. Get more Saw Gerrera in there. Let's fill in that void, that gap that clearly they had filmed for an alternate cut of the film that we still haven't seen. Let's see. I think that pretty much covers it for episode 11, in all honesty.
Sorry. Hang on. I need a minute. I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on here.
You got like allergies or something going on right now, or
no? Just a history. Anyway, I just wanted to say the fishermen.
Oh yeah,
they feel like a D&D random encounter.
Yeah, they were strange. Like the way they. I'm going to do a sweeping generalization now on Canadians. This is going to feel like a South Park skit. But you know what? I've already offended everyone else in my life, haven't I? So fuck it. Why not insult the Canadians? But I'm not saying everyone does this, but the whole kind of like A thing that sometimes they put at the end. They had a word that these aliens kept saying at the end of sentences that really reminded me of that. It even kind of sounded like A or whatever it is. So I don't know. It sounded like a cultural thing. At first, I thought it was like one of those Mass Effect aliens.
I think it was the name of the guy he was talking to.
Oh, was it? I didn't have subtitles on, so I couldn't see if it was capitalized.
Yeah,
or not,
I have subtitles on. Yeah, it was the guy's name.
I thought it was just like an interesting way they were speaking. So
no, yeah, the other guy whose name he kept saying didn't speak English or whatever. He would just grunt or whatever. And
what do you think to the designs of those aliens? Because I don't think we've seen them before, have we? It's not an alien we've seen before.
I like them. They're all
right. But yeah, I think that was basically all of the Cassian stuff in that episode, wasn't it? I was like, we're coming up to the finale now, when we really haven't done much with Cassian in the long run. Episode 12 kind of pulls it back because we bring in the whole like Marva thing and Marva. Why did you say that name? I probably made that joke the other week, but fuck it.
I don't even remember.
And it's bringing in she's his adoptive mother and bringing in those relationships that I thought they would go much more into when this show first started. When we got that flashback with it, we've mentioned this all the way through as well, but we got that flashback with a young Cassian. And he definitely wasn't 6 years old, and I thought they would do this. I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old. And I thought we'd get these regular flashbacks to his parentage and his upbringing, and they just kind of either forgot to do that or thought, no, we've touched on everything that we need to with it. We get a few more of them.
Who's Clem, yeah.
Yeah, his adoptive father, we get another flashback with him, but I don't know, it felt very trite. The actress who plays Marva, though, I think it's Fiona Shaw, I want to say is her name. She was great in this. I really liked her character. And Snoke still has the biggest hologram out of all of Star Wars, but I think she's a close second now at this point in terms of general size of the hologram. And then I guess third would probably be Palpatine's face in Empire Strikes Back, maybe.
Actually, that face, while the hologram itself is smaller than Snoke's, I think the face is bigger than the hologram Snoke's face.
Maybe.
But
think that room is fucking huge where Snoke's hologram is in The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Like that is the biggest goddamn hologram you've ever seen in your life. When I saw giant Fiona Shaw in the middle of the street, I thought, is this kind of when it first started, it looked a bit dumb, and I was kind of getting Pirates of the Caribbean Calypso vibes from it. And I thought, oh god, this is going to be really dumb. But then with that monologue she has when she instills that rebellion in the troops and stuff in the street, it was a great moment, and it was acted very, very well. And then I was like, okay, it makes sense that this hologram is huge, so she's addressing the entire street, because that scene wouldn't have had the same impact if it was just like a regular human-sized hologram. But when it first started off, I thought she's looking around the street. I was like, this is a little bit corny, but it would.
God, Okay, well, hang on. So first, let me just regarding that when she's like looking around, she says like, "I feel like I can see you," or I swear to God, I thought she was gonna say, "I thought there'd be more of you."
Yeah.
But before we really get into that episode, I
Uh-huh.
just want to touch back on the previous episode and say that trick with the tractor beam.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's actually pretty similar to something I think Luke did in Heir to the Empire.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so to my understanding, Luke was in the tractor beam of the Chimera, which is Thrawn's capital ship, and he disengaged his thrusters, and at the exact moment released a proton torpedo. So then, because the thrusters released, he was able to like quickly kind of leave the thing, but not be fast enough to get away if it decided to just turn on him. Mm-hmm. But since it latched onto the torpedo, it thought it still had him.
Oh, okay. And then he hyperdrives after that.
Exactly, he hyperdrives after that. But because Thrawn kills the guy in charge of the tractor beam, well, has his assassin, if Thrawn is the Emperor, this guy is Vader.
Right.
Actually, that's really accurate. If you know how the series ends. Anyway. Also, one last thing. At the very end, after learning that Marva's dead, and Cassian talks to the Scottish guy.
Yeah.
Did you look at his shirt, his pseudo Hawaiian shirt, and did you notice the pattern?
I didn't notice the pattern, but I thought, why is this guy wearing a Hawaiian shirt? And I thought it's really strange that he's wearing something like this. And I thought, oh well, Star Wars was originally filmed in the 70s, so fuck it.
Also, not only is it a Hawaiian shirt, the pattern is pretty much identical to the prison. And the only reason I recognized it is because you made me look at the prison so to show me how it doesn't look at all like the Imperial Sigil.
So are you saying that the Empire is selling prison Hawaiian shirt merch?
No, I think the prison was designed like that because that was a very Star Wars shape, and they needed to make a Hawaiian shirt, and so they decided to design it like that because it's a very Star Wars shape.
Did they need to make a Hawaiian shirt though? Did they?
I mean, he was on a beach in Miami.
Yeah, he's on Florida, Miami Beach planet, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say in this context, you kind of need an equivalent to that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Just before we carry on, we've got
a golf polo somehow.
Yeah. Before we carry on, we've got a few comments from Derpy50 Thirst, which is great. Says blame Canada. Oh yeah, that's going back to the whole.
Oh yeah, from the South Park.
He's showing his opinions on Andor. He says, I enjoyed Andor more than Mando. Don't get me wrong. Mando is great continuation of original trilogy after Return of the Jedi, but this show was unique for different side of the story and didn't need toy merchandise to get a season 2. Yeah, I agree with all of that. I think definitely in terms of strength. Now, I enjoy Mando. I definitely enjoyed season 1 a lot more than season 2. For Mando, I would say I started to see a few cracks in season 2, but season 2 definitely had some great bits, don't get me wrong, but the writing of this was just so strong, and like the vision of it from the director and the writing, I just love the tone of this. I really do. I can't sing its praises enough. And even watching the finale, when that whole riot's kicking off at the end, I thought this feels so grounded and so realistic. And I was thinking about real parts of our world history and stuff that's going on today, and it
kind of reminded me of some footage somebody we know, somebody you know, and I'm afraid I don't know as well as I'd like to think, is putting at the beginning of their episode 9 edit.
Yes, exactly. And I think you could quite easily take that scene from that film and put it alongside footage from this film, and it with this series, and it would go very, very well.
They would work, yeah.
But yeah, I just loved how street level it is, and I was aware of that, kind of what Derpy50 first said, that it doesn't need, merchandise for all of this and the tone of it and everything. The finale of a Star Wars show, usually they want to just, a finale of a Star Wars show, that you got Mando season 2, and it's like Luke Skywalker and lightsabers and what do they call those droids? The rock and sock and robot droids. There we go. You've got all that stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. I really enjoyed that Luke Skywalker moment. Have the effects aged well? Absolutely not. but I was in it in that moment. I felt emotions I hadn't felt before.
The
but
voice
it is kind of that common denominator, isn't it? It's just, get a lightsaber in there or something. And I was looking at the finale of this thinking, the grand finale is kind of like a relatively small riot skirmish during a funeral. Like the whole finale is framed around a funeral.
But according to Nemec, that's enough.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, this
Nemec being the guy who made the thing he's listening to. It says his name every time it does the audio from the manifesto.
Yeah.
It says the name of the character to let you know it's his voice.
Mm-hmm. So I thought that was a nice callback to that character, though.
So I know his name is Nemec or Nemec.
But yeah, I was just watching it and going like, wow, this feels really small scale. But I was loving that fact. When it started off and it was, the whole funeral thing, I thought, okay. But when it went on and the way that the camera's moving, it feels like you're in that riot, the crazy situation, a situation that just gets completely out of control of itself. And even characters like Daedra, who I fucking love Daedra. That shot where she gets off the ship with the 2 death troopers right behind her, I was like, that's fucking cool. She just comes in like a line manager and she's just like, right, this is how it's going to be. He's like, we've got snipers stationed up there. She's like, no snipers. I want him taken in alive. And if I want you to pass that on to everyone. If I see a single fucking sniper, it's your head. And she's so great. She just comes in like shouting all the odds. But as soon as she's in that situation, it all kicks off. There was a moment I thought she was going to get like that scene in Game of Thrones. I forget which season it was where I think it's Joffrey and the royal family are going through King's Landing, and then it all goes to shit and there's like a massive riot and someone gets like ripped apart or something, I remember. And I thought it was going to go that way for Daedra, but it's an interesting kind of parallel that you've got Cassian saving Bix during this whole riot, and then also in that moment you've got Cyril saving Daedra. I thought that was kind of like I don't really know how to read into that, but I guess it's kind of cool that you've got these 2 factions sort of in the same situation together, really.
What is it with Cyril and Daedra and like scenes with them and this really it's like the most awkward yet palpable sexual tension?
I was going to bring that up. It reminded me of Rogue One. When Cassian gets in the elevator at the end with Jyn Erso, and it's like whenever they know they're about to die and they're looking longingly into each other's eyes, and you think this is the moment how in any other film they would just like start making out with each other right now. And I'm grateful that Rogue One didn't do that, actually. Even on the beach. And I was expecting it because the camera really lingers on them and there's that eye contact there, and you're thinking like, is she gonna like just like snog his face off right now? But again, it doesn't happen, or at least the camera cuts away before it happens. But again, I like that we didn't go that route, because I think that would have just come out of nowhere a little bit. There is a tension there.
Be proud.
Yeah. There was actually a shot that reminded me of that. I think it was the end of episode 11, actually, where he hears about his mother's passing and he's kind of stood in front of the sea, and that you've got the light in the sky. It kind of reminded me of the shot composition from the end of Rogue One when the beam's about to hit them a little bit. Maybe that was just me just reading too much into it. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but yeah, the finale was fantastic. It was cool seeing those riot troopers with the shields. It just felt so real, and that's what I really appreciated about it. There are moments in the show, obviously, where you've got like all this TIE fighter action and everything, and the space stuff's really good, but a lot of it just feels really ground level, very real. And yes, it's Star Wars, and yes, galaxy far, far away. I get it, but this show just took Star Wars into places I've never seen before, and it felt like a genuine, how you would imagine any kind of great war or battle would start out. These small little skirmishes that eventually, over the course of the years, build up into full-scale war.
Case in point, when we kicked your sorry asses, it started off with just this us throwing fucking snowballs at your, tea-sucking, oppressive, imperialistic.
That was a waste of some damn good tea right there, dude. You could have even if you didn't want it, you could have drank it.
I'm not talking about the Boston Tea Party. I'm talking about the Boston Massacre.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The Boston Massacre where 5 people died. Well, not the more recent Boston Massacre at the Marathon. During the during the American, like that. Arguably one of the like initial sparks that lit the fire that burnt the British Empire down.
Hey, dude, we set fire to the White House, okay, when we sailed down that river.
Yeah, and you still couldn't win that war. Like the war where you literally got in and attacked our capital and burnt down the building of state. It was a tie.
Yeah, but actually, I think
tie.
If Al Murray, the British comedian, is to be believed, history teacher, they had to whitewash it to cover up the fire damage, which is why it's called the White House. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's.
I thought it had to be completely. I thought it was white before, and it needed to be completely rebuilt, so it doesn't really matter. Because my understanding, it was built out of wood before, and then they're like, let's build it out of stone.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking maybe
we never really learn about all of that stuff at school. I must admit, like,
I wonder why.
In America, it seems like that's all the history shit you learn is like all American history, which I completely get. But...
The earliest history classes I had, like because in 5th grade I went to private school and then went to public school to 6th to 8th, and the thing is, private school 5th grade is apparently a lot of stuff you learn in 8th grade. So I was kind of ahead once I got to there. But American, like we went over the American Revolution, and I had like 2 classes that were dedicated to it because of that, and as a result, it became pretty ingrained in my memory. Like, I remember we had to write an interview with a survivor of the Battle of. Like, we had to write and perform an interview with a survivor of a specific battle, like where we totally kicked your asses. It was when Washington crossed the Delaware on Christmas, and like, I got to be honest, that was a pretty fucked up attack. Like, everybody, they're celebrating Christmas, passed out drunk. Let's get them.
Hey, all's fair in love and war, right? So, anyway, Derpy501 says this show is the show we needed and wanted for a long time, in my opinion, because no need for the Skywalker era. Before 2015, I would have disagreed with you. I'd have been like, hell yeah, we need more Skywalker saga. And then after the sequel trilogy, I'm like, yeah, we should have ended it at that really cool Ewok party, Return of the Jedi. The story was told.
Hang on, that story, that Ewok party is not that cool.
It seems pretty cool. It's low key.
Have you seen it with like somebody like went in and replaced the audio with like
what it would have sound like? Yeah, I have. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, that's what they were hearing.
Yeah, they weren't hearing any kind of like victory celebration. Just John Williams just absolutely tearing it up in the score.
I would be willing to believe the Ewoks sang Yub Nub.
Yeah.
But again, you'd only be able to hear it if you were close to those particular Ewoks.
Mm-hmm. I think what I like about this show, just going back to Andor as well, is that, don't get me wrong, I like Star Wars going in a new direction, but I like that this just kind of bolsters the main saga. It's just me trying to refuse to admit that episode 7, 8, and 9 even exists. So it's like it takes place within that saga and it's fleshing things out and it's showing us a side. It feels like an actual war because beforehand, and I get it in traditional storytelling. There's no bad thing, and this is not me criticizing the original trilogy at all. It's very kind of black and white when it comes to it, right? Empire, evil, good guys, unequivocally good. Whereas this series it's showing the real sides of what a war is. Obviously the Empire aren't great, but some of the things that the Rebellion are doing as well are kind of a bit shitty as well. Again, letting people knowingly sending people to their deaths and everything like that seems very much like a bad guy thing to do in any other kind of media, but you're looking what the end goal is. And speaking of the end goal, the post-credit scene, which felt very thrown in last second. Like, I don't know if we needed particularly this post-credit scene. It's the background of this video. It's the Death Star. We see it being built. And I've seen the Death Star so many times right now that scene had no kind of dramatic impact to me at all. It was just like, oh, so that's what... Well, we got our answer in the prison where I said, like, what are those things that they're building? I guess we finally saw what they were doing, but I've seen the Death Star so many times right now, and they keep trying to make it dramatic, and I'm just like, it's done. There were some pretty cool shots in Rogue One, though, I must admit. They made the Death Star look fucking good in Rogue One. There's some really, really good... I love that bit where it's like there's a large object coming into orbit, and then you just get it there. That's cool.
I just got to stop something real quick. Derpy50 first. Mando's toy sales were like some of the worst Disney has gotten because they didn't want to spoil Baby Yoda.
Well, I mean, probably afterwards. I mean, everyone in
But they didn't have Baby Yoda toys to sell.
Everyone in their mom bought a Baby Yoda. Even
me. But the thing is that... But he's saying the only reason Mando succeeded is toy merchandise. No. Only reason toy merchandise blew up was because Mando.
Yeah.
Because people were like, holy shit, give me the baby. I want to see the baby.
Maybe he's talking about sort of succeed over a long period of time. You know,
be very quiet.
But remember that at the end of season 1, by the way? The hell was that? They like, I thought he was just like, I'll humor them because I know they're bullshitting me. No, he was like, oh, well, we should be very quiet for the baby.
I still haven't seen the trailer for season 3 of Mando. In all honesty, Book of Boba Fett's kind of killed all the hype that I had for Mando season 3. I really hate how they've just hit the hard reset button on it, because it's like, oh, well, you can't have a show with Mando and Baby Yoda together because, again, we got to sell more of that merch, right? So, yeah, they just instantly reset it. So if people watch season 2 of Mando and it's like, oh, Luke's taking him away, they're going to like go straight into season 3 and be like, what the fuck? Why is he back with him? And I guess then you can argue, well, you know, if they're a real fan, then they should watch Book of Boba Fett. I wouldn't force anyone to watch that piece of shit. It was terrible. I'd probably just tell them to just watch the 3 Mando episodes and that's it. But even then, I just hate that it's just hit a hard reset on the formula for Mando. And I think certainly after watching this, going back to a sort of a more commercial, action-packed Star Wars, I'm just like, no, I want more of this. This was really good stuff. This was interesting. It felt new. It felt familiar. Of course it did, because it's still Star Wars, but it was just so totally different. And I actually checked the video description that I did for the first review in this playlist, where I reviewed Andor episodes 1 to 3. And I think I was kind of a bit of an asshole in the video description, really. I said something like, oh, Disney Plus continued to churn out another piece of Star Wars content that's probably going to be terrible. And I still think this does feel pretty churned out, you know, in terms of a Cassian Andor series. It's like, oh, did we really need this? No. And I'd still argue that I don't think we needed this. But holy shit, after those first 3, and certainly, you know, episode 4 onwards, I was like, okay, this is doing something different. This is going places, and there's some really good acting in there. The writing, people feel like real people and characters. Again, from the earliest trailers, you see Daedra rocking up, and you're thinking, especially Disney's track record, you're thinking like, oh, here we go. We're going to have, you know, this female officer who's not going to be a character, and she's going to be amazing at everything, and she's going to be way more capable than all the dudes, and she's going to be boring as shit. Because that was Disney's track record at that point. From the first couple of episodes, boom, Daedra, one of my favorite characters in this. Feels like an actual person, is fallible, has moments of weakness, but also strength, especially in the finale where she's like in over her head, and I mean, shit, she almost gets fucking killed right there in the street. She kind of loses control for a second, which is actually a really, really nice parallel back to Cyril's first scene. And it was giving me flashbacks of that, where Cyril goes into that room. You know, he's this hotshot Imperial guy, thinks he can get the job done, and then boom, is it Andor or Luthen who corners him with a gun at the end of episode 3?
It was Andor, I think.
It was Andor, wasn't it? Yeah. And you know,
he shot him.
Yeah, and dude's like fucking terrified, and it becomes like this really kind of like whimpering. All the strengths that he had as like an Imperial officer before that are just completely out the window when he's in that real life situation.
He wasn't an Imperial officer.
Well, he was high up, wasn't he? Or security? No, sorry, he was security, wasn't he? But he was high up in ranking, and he was rising up above the ranks. And then you've got Daedra, who's, you know, in it. She's capable. She's clearly organized. She knows how to navigate the politics at the workplace. But as soon as shit starts hitting the fan, she's completely lost. and then she's just saved it that last second. And again, like she thinks that someone's got her cornered with a gun, very similar to Cyril's situation at the end of episode 3. So it's neat how he's on kind of like the reverse side of that now from how he was at the end of episode 3. I don't know, there's loads of neat callbacks to that, and I don't know if you call it a character arc or what you'd call it. I still want to see more from Cyril's character. There was a lot of him just kind of those awkward moments where he was with his mom and trying to get a job again, and I kind of wanted them to do more with Cyril's character, but it has got me interested now with this kind of this working relationship, I guess, between Cyril and Daedra now. I'm excited to see where that goes in season 2.
Yeah, I'm interested to see, like, the thing is, so Cyril and Daedra, I could see them, like, I could see Cyril is going to need to be not directly associated with Daedra, because having been helped by him, that's not a thing I think an Imperial higher up can actually acknowledge.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
So I think that's going to make for an interesting dynamic next season.
But I do think he's going to be like, right, well, you owe me. And like whether it's like putting a word with someone, or they're definitely going to have a working relationship though, and they're going to be like exchanging information with each other and definitely being more.
He's going to need therapy.
Colleagues. I think he was fine. Like if you compare to how he was.
You see, I was looking at, like, the way I saw it, like the similar, like you pointed out, the similarities to the episode where he attacked Fennec. I feel like when this is over, he's going to need therapy and a job that involves neither loud noises nor bricks.
Well, you say that, but like in the end of episode 3, when everything was blowing up and stuff, he was like Cutler Beckett. Oh, another At World's End reference. He was like Cutler Beckett at the end of that, where it was like, "Order, sir," and he's like catatonic. He's like freaking out. He doesn't know what to do, completely in over his head. He hasn't seen anything like this before. But he handled this really coolly, like during this whole situation. Like he had this whole thing mapped out. So it was a completely. It feels like a more focused Cyril. Like he's gone through all of those upheavals before, and he's just like a man of focus now. So no, I don't think he will need all that therapy. To be honest, I think he's good.
By the way, did you notice what the crowd was chanting when what's her name? Marva was being, like, her brick form was being brought through the street?
No, I didn't catch what they were saying.
Sky and Stone.
Sky and Stone.
What was it that Luthen gave to Cassian? Sky Kyber.
Oh, okay, yeah. I did laugh when that guy picked up the funeral brick though and just like twatted it over a guy's head.
Yeah, Marva would be proud.
Yes. And then he just lets out this like berserker scream, doesn't he? Like, ah! So after he does it,
Legolas, Doggerai.
We've got another comment here. Sorry, let's just backtrack here. Derpy Fiver first says, I mean, don't get me wrong, Mando is fine, but it really isn't Star Wars, and I'm kind of sick of it because of the bandwagon fans that only want to see Grogu. You're always going to get that with a popular show, though, with its fans, unfortunately, and I do get that, like the whole baby. I know he's called Grogu, but I'm always going to call him Baby Yoda. For like a year and a half, we had to call him Baby Yoda, and the name's just stuck, okay?
Actually, I think I'll probably do a video about this at some point, but I think we were supposed to call him the Child, and I think that name is going to come back, and it's going to be a really important title at the end of the series.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've told you what I think is going to end up happening, but yeah.
I mean, I still think that it was an amalgamation, because there were rumors for ages that they were going to do all these spin-off films. I think even they had a director for the Boba Fett spin-off film they were going to do. There was going to be a Kenobi film, and for a long time there were talks of a potential Yoda homeworld prequel or origin story.
I know
to
there
Yoda
was a
or
Yoda
like
prequel. I don't think it was gonna nothing said anything about like his homeworld or anything.
Well, I mean, that's the only way that I think you could go with it, really, if you were going to do a Yoda origin story. But I think Mando
show him with his master.
I think Mando, and then by extension, introducing Boba Fett and the Book of Boba Fett, I think they were all ideas that they had floating around that they just kind of threw together into some kind of show. Derpy501 says, I'm very excited for Ahsoka, but very, very, very nervous wreck with Acolyte because of the casting and director, and it's set in High Republic era. So yeah, why can't they do an Old Republic? Damn it, please. Yeah,
because the Old Republic is better left in the shadows. Like, it's better to speculate on the Old Republic than to actually look at it. We've got 1,000 years of history that is barely covered, which is what was the New Republic and is now considered the Old Republic. And the thing about that is, the Old Republic, yeah, there were a lot of great stories in the Old Republic. Barely any of them actually meshed well with each other.
And, Disney would fuck it up royally. So I'd kind of, as much as you want, well, if you want to see a live action Revan, it's Kylo Ren. Basically, they just completely lifted the entire character design more. The mask is almost identical, dude. Come on.
You need to. You're looking. You really are
I'm really not.
You need to stop. You look like an idiot.
Dude.
No, Chris. You need to stop talking. I'm doing you a favor. Stop talking.
I will Google image this shit afterwards.
I don't care. You need to stop talking.
You're like, oh no, on the mask it's a slightly different shade of red. Like it's
one of them is an overt an overt homage to Darth Vader, and the other one is a Mandalorian mask.
Okay, sure.
And also, again, entirely different characters.
They released that Black Series Revan figure because people wanted it. I was just like, oh, we've all got a Kylo Ren figure in our collection. Like, we don't need another one.
Also, not to mention the costume that's because you're stupid.
But yeah,
I don't think anything canon should be made in the Old Republic. I think it should all be titled Legends.
I think with a really competent director and a great writer, and Disney actually letting them make the fucking thing that they want to make with a compelling story and everything firing on all cylinders, a film trilogy of the Old Republic could be fucking awesome. It could be really fucking awesome. Those cinematic trailers that come out, dude, I still watch them occasionally, and they're awesome. And I would much rather watch those than anything that Disney have been putting out recently, especially in terms of their feature films. They're going through a crisis at the moment, I think, with their feature films, and I think they know that. I think the underperforming returns of Solo definitely was a shock to the system, and then, of course, Kathleen Kennedy starts saying that, oh, well, this failed because of this, and it just shows how out of touch she is with the whole thing, because that's not the reason that failed. Rise of Skywalker was a complete fucking mess. We all know that.
Also, a movie about Arkan and Thexan would be kind of pointless.
And then with the TV shows, it seems like they're just quite happy doing that. There was going through a moment where Kathleen Kennedy was just handing out films and trilogies to like every single director under the sun, which we've had no more information on, and I don't know if they'll see the light of day. We've had projects cancelled. With Patty Jenkins, I think, wasn't it? Was going to do a Rogue Squadron movie, which now isn't happening, or has at least been shelved indefinitely. So all of these projects that have been planned and probably ain't going to happen. It seems like their safest bet at the moment is to stick with TV, and I'm fine with that. It's just, to me, their last few shows have been absolutely terrible, not including this one. This one's actually really good, and I want to see more like this one.
Has that Lando show been cancelled?
I haven't heard any more about that. That's news to me, actually.
Okay.
But like the Rian Johnson trilogy, which they keep saying is going to happen, like that ain't going to fucking happen. There is no way
I'll
that
be
that's
honest. At this point, the fact that they keep they've had no qualms about canceling shit. If you think it's not going to happen, that's wishful thinking on your part. They've had so many opportunities to cancel it, and they're just for some reason keep reassuring that not only is it not canceled, like we're not just not talking about it. We are saying, no, we still want to do that. Like the fact that they keep saying, no, this is gone, this is gone, this is gone. But then this one thing that keeps coming up, they're like, no, we still want to do that. I think the fact that you're saying that's never going to happen, that's wishful thinking on your part. Mister.
It's
I will go out of my way to create
to
fabricate arguments.
It's definitely
like
fucking wishful thinking at this point, but I honestly don't see it happening. And obviously, the Disney CEO shakeup recently as well. I think Bob Iger's come back, hasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
I think he's cleaning house. Not to say that I'm a massive fan of Bob Iger himself, because to me, Star Wars was already going down the toilet even under his leadership anyway. So to me, it's not like I've seen people going like, oh, finally, he's going to get rid of Kathleen Kennedy and he's going to restore this. I'm like, dude, he was there when she was there. Like,
I mean, so was George Lucas.
Yeah, I guess so. But I was hearing rumors as well recently that, Kathleen Kennedy's going to be leaving or something, but I mean that's been rumored for years and it's never come true. And I don't know how much impact she does have with these shows, that like the good ones. It feels like, I don't know if she just goes like, oh yeah, we're going to make an Andor series, right, go make it, and then she just lets them make it, and when she's not getting involved, it's great. I don't know. I don't know her level.
That's not how that's not how being a producer works. Like, I get the feeling she gave the same unsupervised check marks she gave to the other shows, being like, huh, yeah, that looks like it. All right.
She seemed a lot more present in Last Jedi. From the behind the scenes, she seemed a lot more like she was on set. She was like there constantly.
I need to rewatch the behind the scenes. Then what was it called?
I don't know if there was like a massive behind the scenes.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if there was a massive behind the scene. Well, there probably wasn't on Rise of Skywalker. There's
there is on all three, because that was the Ascendant's only source of deleted scenes. Was the behind the scenes footage.
Yeah.
And of course the Last Jedi behind the scenes footage is where I got. Now let me see if I can remember the controls.
That's great. That's my favorite. That might be my favorite edit you've ever done. That was so much fun. And it pains me that I can't put that in an idea for a sequel edit. I've tried to come up with some ideas for the sequel trilogy edit. There's just no way to do it. Every idea that I find runs into a pitfall, so I've shelved that idea completely now at this point. And I'm fan editing The Lord of the Rings now and having a great time. I'm having a grand old time with it. So I'm just going to do that for a while. And if inspiration strikes me, then sure, I might dip back into Star Wars. Anything else to say on the finale?
Okay. Two things about a Wilhelm scream. One, was there a Wilhelm scream in this?
No, and there was a perfect place for one. And tell me where you think it. We're going to say the same thing.
The tower.
Yes. Yeah.
But also, I think there might have actually been one when they first are hitting the stormtroopers, and one of them breaks through the line and gets promptly whacked in the back.
I didn't hear one.
Scream a little.
I didn't hear one, but yeah, it should have been the top of the tower guy. That would have been amazing.
Yeah. Hang on. Yeah, like I said, I thought Marvel would be like, I thought there'd be more of you. So the limo speeder doesn't have an indicator light to let you know that the driver can hear you?
I guess not.
The hat switch reminded me it was very Unabomber. Sky Kyber thought there'd be more of you.
I've got a note on Val's scene after the bomb goes off in the street. She has her Bruce Wayne moment from the beginning of Batman versus Superman, where she runs into the ash cloud. Just goes sprinting into it. It just really reminded me of the beginning of Batman versus Superman.
Why didn't anyone remember when what's his face headbutted a trooper and beat up the other trooper and then grabbed the kid and ran off?
Whereabouts was this? Was this in this episode you're talking about, the finale?
Yeah, the one who who threw the pipe bomb, and the guy who had the brick. The guy who had the brick beat up took down the two troopers to save the kid who threw the pipe bomb.
Yeah.
Now you've got two dead troopers right there. That's two blasters.
Yeah.
Just saying.
He's
nobody did anything.
Work.
Nobody grabbed those blasters. Nobody did anything with those blasters.
I liked the bit where a stormtrooper had a guy on his back and he couldn't shake him off. And it reminded me of that scene from Peter Jackson's King Kong with the giant cricket or the giant cockroach that's on Adrian Brody. And he's like, shoot it. It's just really reminded me of that. Yeah, there were loads of cool moments in this though.
But yeah, one of my last notes is I feel like the last scene. I said this to you before we started. The last scene with Cassian finding Luthen in his ship somehow, and like begging him to kill him and so on. It left a lot of questions, a lot more questions than answers, and not the kind of questions you want to end your season on. Like, how did he get there? Why is he there? What how does he know to be there? How does he know why he's there? How did he know he was even there in the first place?
Yeah,
Also, I'm throwing this out there. In the next 4 years, so look at how much of the debt, like, hide both of us. Let's just look at that background image.
Yeah, that's nearly complete. They were slacking, weren't they? It looks
the
like
last
all they've got
4 years.
Yeah.
And that disc is going to be pushed into place.
That literally was the only thing that they needed to do in Rogue One, was just put that dish in.
We are assuming there's nothing going on inside.
That's a good. Yeah, they've got to do all the interiors. Maybe
I would have assumed they did the interiors first and then built a shell.
Well, if we look at how the Death Star 2 is constructed, it looks like you kind of just make that shit as you go along, and then
forget that. Look at how Death Star 1 was constructed at the end of Episode 3. You've got this full frame at the end.
Oh yeah,
that features that ring.
Yeah, they kind of fucked up. This is what I mean. And the CGI, not to say the CGI is bad or anything, it's good, especially for TV, but it felt very shoehorned in, that whole Death Star thing. It felt like a last-minute note, just to put it in.
I did not need to know what those chassis were for.
Yeah. Every time I see it, I just keep thinking, not the chassis, but just like that dish and like the column of the laser. Force Unleashed, when you're just charging down that thing and smashing all the green crystal down it. Really reminds me of that. Oh, those were good times playing that game. And then not so great times playing Force Unleashed 2 for all 4 hours of that game. I paid full price for that game on release day. I pre-ordered that shit. I paid like £10 per hour of gameplay for that game.
So, before we wrap up, do we want to talk about the series as a whole? Because I thought we were going to do like a retrospective stream. I would have preferred, because I would have preferred to like be able to watch the whole series again before talking about it as a whole, because I've only been giving it like 40 minutes at a time, and like, wouldn't you rather give it all at once?
Well, if later down the line, dude, if you want to do like a series retrospective thing,
are you fucking kidding me, Chris?
What do you say?
Wouldn't you rather give it all at once?
Oh, that was the scene they kept playing at the beginning, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They didn't towards the end, which I'm grateful for.
No.
But...
Actually, once I complained about it, it stopped showing up.
Yeah. Disney were paying attention, clearly. Hey, if you want to do a series retrospective on your channel at some point, I'd be down for that. I don't know when I'm going to find time to watch all 12 of these again. But I think we could... I think I would prefer to watch them all again as a whole. I think they should have just dumped this series out there. I think it was structured in that way where it really didn't benefit from weekly episodes. Mando kind of works better. Mando works better because it's more episodic and it's more sort of disparate adventures with Baby Yoda. There is an overarching story to it, but one of my major criticisms with Mando, especially season 1, was that each episode just kind of felt like filler and there wasn't much actual core story to it. Season 2 was better in that way, I think, for Mando, but overall thoughts on this. I want more like this. This was a complete breath of fresh air. The strongest aspects about the show for me were the writing, for the most part, the world building definitely, and just the tone. I really appreciated that. The aesthetic of it, on the surface, didn't really look like Star Wars, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Of course it is, and you still get your TIE fighters, and you still do get some space combat, and you got blasters in there and stormtroopers and everything, but it just felt a lot more stripped back, a lot more back to basics, a lot more ground level, which is exactly what you want when you're showing the seeds of a rebellion and how a war and tearing down a tyrannical empire comes about. I thought it was handled really smart. You could tell it was written by actual people and not a committee. Sorry, I had to get that. I can't say that word without saying it like that character. But yeah, I just
comments which character you think he's being.
I just just really enjoyed it. Now, is this a perfect series? No. If someone says like, "Oh, I didn't really like it because I wasn't entertained by it," I would completely understand. This is as slow burn as they come. The finale is basically just a funeral march through the street, but that works for the show. And it's the messages behind it. There's some great moments of character in the show. I love Luthen. Skarsgård's a fantastic actor, and he just absolutely nailed it. I really love Daedra's character. I want to know more about her. I love the actress who plays Mon Mothma as well. I think she's fantastic as the character. But there are some characters that either don't get as much attention, or I still couldn't tell you loads about them. You've kind of got the Indian chick who's with Val. Still don't really know loads about her. Bix, she's fine, but again, I don't really know loads about her. Cassian, the titular character of the show, is boring as fuck. After 12 episodes, he's the least interesting thing about this show. The stuff that I really grasp at this is the Mon Mothma stuff, the Saw Gerrera stuff, the Luthen stuff. It's the seeds of that rebellion and seeing those moral grey aspects to everything, really. So this show did kind of not change my mind about Star Wars, but did prove that good Star Wars content can still be made. Did this show need to be made? Did I need a Cassian prequel series? No, I absolutely didn't, but it definitely went in a direction that I didn't expect from it. When I first went into this, I was really down in the dumps by it, but there was something about this show that kept me coming back for 12 episodes. And it ain't the most entertaining Star Wars thing ever. It's very different tonally, but different isn't necessarily bad. And I think it's absolutely what Star Wars needed right now, and was, just a complete breath of fresh air for me.
I mean, what do I add to that, Chris?
I don't know. Just go for it. Overall opinions.
Yeah, like I said, so I've heard a lot of people say that, well, first off, let me just throw out there, the only person I've actually met who hasn't liked this show has literal brain damage. Just saying. Yeah, I'm not saying the two things are related.
Right.
I'm just saying that is a true fact about my life.
Yeah.
His head was bashed against the cement a few times.
Did someone hit him with a funeral brick?
No. No, they did not. Maybe.
There's that word again. Yeah, I got it. I got it the first time.
Yeah. But I've heard you mention like a Gina Urso show would have been better. I heard one guy be like, why not make it about that Asian guy? What was his name? And I was like, Chirrut Imwe. And they're like, yeah, that's that guy. And I'm like, here's the thing about those. Those can only be shows about that. And I before this show came out, I would have agreed with you. However, seeing what this show is, because this show isn't just the Cassian show. The Jaden the what's her name?
Jyn Erso.
The Jyn Erso. I combined her father's name with her name. The Jyn Erso show would be...
why she's called Jyn Erso?
Oh, fuck off.
She's always drinking gin.
The Jyn Erso show would only be the Jyn Erso and Saw Gerrera show. The Chirrut Imwe show would only be the Chirrut Imwe and that guy with the really overpowered gun show.
Mm-hmm.
But this gets to be a proxy of the Rebel Alliance.
Yeah.
By following somebody who is the only member of the crew of Rogue One who's in the Rebel Alliance. Like, actually.
Mm-hmm. Well, you say that, if they did a Jyn Erso show, it would literally just be Jyn Erso and Saw Gerrera. I don't think that's necessarily true. I mean, that could sort of like serve as the Cassian aspect of this show. But you could cut away. God damn it, I want more Krennic, okay? We could cut away to Krennic. We could do stuff with the Empire. We could see some internal Empire politics going on there. I'd love that. You could go back to Coruscant again, where you get that really brief flashback of Jyn, and hell, you could get Mads Mikkelsen in it again. We could see flashbacks like that and actually see her childhood growing up and more of that, and her familial ties to the Empire grow. I don't know. I think there would be stuff there. I think there'd be plenty of stuff there. And
let's get Ben Mendelsohn back next season to talk about the Hython Aldani.
Fuck yeah. I really want more credit, goddammit. He's fantastic in Rogue One, and I just want more of his character. But I think even more so than this show, I think that would actually help Rogue One. There's a lot of material that comes out. Go on, you're about to do something. You're about to say something.
Maybe.
The chief among them, the best example of this is probably, the prequel trilogy is then bolstered by the Clone Wars. Now, don't get me wrong, the Clone Wars ain't perfect, but they definitely flesh out Anakin and Obi-Wan's character a lot more. There's some interesting stuff with... I wish Maul didn't live. That's still really weird to me and really bullshit, but the stuff that they do with Maul in that animated realm of things was brilliant, I thought. You've been watching more recent example. I haven't watched it yet, but Tales of the Jedi with the Count Dooku stuff. And I'm pretty sure that Qui-Gon Jinn's in that as well, isn't he?
Briefly. He's in one episode not played by Liam Neeson, and then in another episode played by Liam Neeson briefly.
Yeah. They got him in the same day where he does his cameo at the end of Kenobi. It was just like, can you just say this line?
Yeah, like these three, just hot, or maybe not when he did the cameo, but when he did ADR for the cameo.
Yeah,
like they needed. They're like, oh, can you also just we've got some scenes in this show we might use.
Mm-hmm.
How does this apply to this series? Just read it, Liam.
Is it like the scene in Extras where it's like, I have AIDS?
That wasn't Extras. That was
Oh, not Extras. What was it called?
Life's Too Short.
That's it. Yeah.
I've just been to the doctor. I've got full-blown AIDS. AIDS isn't really considered, something appropriate for comedy. And he points at Ricky Gervais. How come he gets to do it? We don't know.
What was I saying? So the animated stuff's definitely enhanced and bolstered the films that maybe didn't go into aspects as much as they could have done and made things fully realized. Doesn't excuse the films. The film should, absolutely stand on their own for what they are. But I think a Jyn Erso show would really, really help Rogue One. Because Rogue One starts off interesting and they just skip over all that character development. And there really isn't much character development. Jyn Erso is an incredibly boring as fuck character in that film. And we know that the footage exists, or at least some of it, from earlier trailers and like a different angle the story was going to go. I genuinely believe we would have seen more of that upbringing, because you get that really awkward, that the first part of Rogue One feels very fragmented and very cut up, and feels like it was definitely the first act of that film that was at a loss compared to probably what the original cut would have been. And that really awkward 30 years or so time jump that we get was just really weird to me. So I would have preferred that, but yeah, I'm loving what they're doing with this. I was just actually having a look at the critical rating of this, and I never go by Rotten Tomatoes because it's bullshit most of the time. But if I am going to read it out, it's sitting at 93% at the moment, based on 565 critic reviews. As I mentioned, the percentage of positive critics definitely went up from episode 5, and then coasted pretty much towards 100. Which is really good, but it stayed consistently high pretty much all the way through, which is good.
Like Dr. House.
Exactly. And I'm thinking about other shows that they could do to could anything be done with the sequel trilogy? Could they do some kind of prequel show or thing to
I don't know if the show Dr. House was consistently high rated. I'm referring to the character of Dr. House, who was always on Vicodin, and so he was consistently high.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I realized that it kind of sounded like I was just giving an analogy about the reviews of the show. No, yeah. I was making a joke about drugs.
Good night, everybody.
Like an idiot.
But I think I've said pretty much everything I can.
No, but what you were saying about do I think a show could be made that bolsters the sequel trilogy? Okay. I feel like with what's going on, if you had asked me that before The Rise of Skywalker, I'd say sure, but I don't think with what's canon and with what's canon about the First Order, the formation of the First Order is actually pretty mundane. It just kind of just happens off screen. It's like the formation of the Empire of the Hand. It happened. it's cool that it happened, and the like Jagged Fell bringing in the Empire of the Hand to bring down Datasi Dala. Oh, that's so cool. But if a story about the formation of the Empire of the Hand would be really fucking boring.
And not just
by
that,
the way,
but
for those who don't know, the Empire of the Hand, it was Grand Admiral Thrawn being like, "Hey, the Yuuzhan Vong are coming. Maybe we should divert some assets to the unknown region." And Palpatine got to tell himself that it was his, and Thrawn was like, "No, this is mine."
And I think in a way, Filoni, Favreau, they're kind of gonna do their own sequel trilogy. Well, not a sequel trilogy, but their own take on what a sequel thing would be. I mean, they brought back young Luke. Maybe they'll bring back younger versions of other characters as well. I don't really think they can do Princess Leia now, in all honesty. I think that, well, I mean, Rise of Skywalker did it, so fuck it. They do it with Peter Cushing, in for a penny, in for a pound.
Billy Lord is cool with it, then I think they'll do it.
And, the whole stuff, which they haven't really paid off yet, the fact that the Empire really wants Grogu for some reason and are trying to extract his blood, is that going to link into Snoke? Or now that we've got Rise of Skywalker, is it going to go into Palpatine and bringing him back? And oh, JX is frozen. I'm going to continue until he comes back in. He should be back in a second. And that's the problem with Mando at the moment, is because the sequel trilogy was so magnanimously shit, especially Rise of Skywalker, and bringing back Palpatine. As much as I love Ian McDiarmid, just bringing back that character is an absolute travesty. I'm
back.
Okay, I'll just finish what I'm saying, then I'll pass back over to you. I don't want them to go into the sequel trilogy stuff because it's so shit, and especially the Palpatine stuff in Episode 9. I would prefer it. They don't even reference that, don't even acknowledge that, pretend it didn't happen. But I guess in the canon sense of things, it's kind of gonna have to, if it is gonna go in that situation. But I think we did see some kind of like test tube thing, which looked like a tube of Snoke's or something. I remember a Mando episode doing that in season 2 or something.
Yeah.
Which now we're like, well, it can't be Snoke because I made Snoke on Exegol, apparently, in the test tubes there.
So the thing about that, I think that Gideon and all of his resources are Imperial resources allocated by him to keep the dream alive, but they're not at all related to the First Order. The First Order is in the unknown regions doing their own thing ever since the Battle of Jakku. These are just the Imperial remnant who are here, and I get the feeling like I think Gideon, based off of his armor and it's just his general look, the fact that he has the Darksaber, I think he wants to be Thrawn's Vader.
Yeah.
He wants to make himself a Force-sensitive Mandalorian. Enforcer of this new empire created by Grand Admiral Thrawn. That's
what I was going to go into, like with Favreau and that. I think they are going to draw reference at the very fact that they kind of brought Thrawn back.
Somebody he works for is going to send that research on for Project Resurrection.
Yeah, I think, and with those two, I think they are going to be drawing from the old, what you would consider, was it Heir of the Empire? Is that what it was called? That trilogy, the Thrawn trilogy, basically. The very fact that they brought Thrawn back, the fact that he's probably going to be the main antagonist in the Ahsoka series, they're going to be bringing in a live action Thrawn, which I think they're really going to push.
I really hope it's just the guy who voiced him.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Got a really weird skull. It works.
Filoni's got an absolute hard on for just like making everything link in with each other in a really frustratingly, annoyingly way. So I think he's going to do the same. Annoyingly way. It's very late. Annoying way. And I think that the storyline with the brand thing and the kind of Marvel Cinematic Universe style of thing, which they're also bringing to Star Wars with Mando, you've got to watch one show, one's going to affect the other. You must understand this. They're going to be doing that with Ahsoka. So if Thrawn's in that, you bet he's going to be linking in somehow, maybe with Mando. Maybe those test tuber people, it is going to be like Dark Jedi. And again, it's going to go into the storylines and aspects like Juras Sebayoth, maybe.
I really want Eli Vanto to be depicted in live action. And also, I love that you mentioned Joris Sabayoth, but I think his character is going to get replaced by Ezra Bridger.
Yeah. But I think maybe instead of, oh no, we're not going to link this into Snoke, we're not going to do this with Palpatine, it could be the kind of precursor for that kind of thing, and being able to successfully
pass that off,
clone.
Like, I secretly work for the Final Order.
Like, we still don't know what Palpatine is. Like, they don't explain it in the movie. Just, somehow Palpatine returned. That cut line, more than a clone, less than a man. Is he a cloned body? Is he the actual body? We'll never fucking know, and I don't care because it's absolute trash. And
it
hot
seems
garbage.
to be indicating now that the original one is on Exegol.
Yeah, but the novelization said one thing, the visual dictionary said another. The filmmakers didn't even fucking explain it in their own film. Like, who cares? Like, it's just an absolute shit show. But I could go for sort of like an army, because it looked like there was a multiple test tubes, and I don't know if they were all failed test subjects or if they're all going to become sentient, if there's kind of like an order, almost like a Knights of Ren kind of thing for kind of genetically fucked up, unhinged Jedi clones or something, or force sensitive troopers that they could have. Because that's different.
That's what the Dark Troopers were in Legends.
Yeah.
Like, they were with the dark side for Dark Empire.
That coupled with Thrawn, you're bringing in story elements from that Thrawn trilogy, but you kind of put in a new spin on it. So I do see that as Filoni's take on, this is how I would have continued Star Wars. This is bringing in elements of those original concepts for 7, 8, and 9, and here you go. But I don't know whether it's necessarily going to start to link into the sequel trilogy, or if they are just going to want to distance themselves away from it. But sort of bringing it back to Andor, we've got one more series of this in 2 years' time.
What about Tom Bombadil?
No, we're not doing that again. I am concerned for season 2 of Andor, though, because I don't know whether they're going to look at the critics for this or the numbers that more people were critical towards this. Certainly not the critical actual response and rating of it. That's very high. But the fact that probably this didn't get the viewing figures in like all the other ones, and are Disney going to address that by putting more of the typical Star Wars shit in there? I think speculation for 2, we're definitely going to get K2SO in there at some point. I think pretty early on, maybe in that series. He'll be the comic relief, and I don't know if they're going to say, oh, well, people said, oh, the tone of Andor was too miserable and sad. We need some humor in there, and K2SO is going to serve as that function. We're definitely going to get more stuff with Daedra and her relationship with Cyril. I want more Saw Gerrera stuff, and we're going to have to see Mon Mothma become the leader of the Rebel Alliance, and I've got to do all of that shit in 12 episodes. So I'm concerned by that, because I don't think they'll be able to maintain the same slow burn quality of this series. I think it's going to have to be quite the opposite, in fact. I think those episode arcs are just going to have to be like boom, 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 and we're going to have to get through it rapid fire.
No, I think it could be done.
We'll see. I mean, I hope
how little of like they're willing to give us of Mon Mothma at a time. I think that story in and of itself, because of that kind of format, it can be kind of rushed, but not like it without necessarily feeling rushed. Because already we've only gotten like 20 minutes of Mon Mothma at most.
Yeah. I don't want it to be a repeat of Rome season 2. I don't want it to be, we've got this idea mapped out for 5 seasons. It's like, yeah, we're cancelling you after season 2. So just like condense everything you were going to have planned in all those and like do it in this. So it's like we had a whole series planned for Antony and Cleopatra. Oh, now we've got to do that in like an episode or 2. And we've got to really cram it in and truncate. I hope that's not the case, but we'll see. Am I going to be shouting from the rooftops about this series? No, I enjoyed it for what it's worth, though. And then I'll be ready to consume next product, clearly. But there was actual like care and attention to the writing and the direction in this, which I really appreciated, which is more than what can be said for a lot of the other Star Wars content that's been coming out. But yeah, that'll do it for me. I think I'm all talked out on this for now. Star Wars is now going to go back into hibernation for me, not counting our discussions about various edits and stuff like that. I'm sure that will continue just fine, but I need to lock Star Wars away now for a good while until something good comes out that captures my attention. Maybe I'll give Tales of the Jedi a go. That has got my interest. Yeah.
Yeah, literally, like, don't do it episode to episode. Watch all of it, and maybe we might do a thing.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'd be down for that. And short episodes, are they like 20-minute? Are they like 20-minute episodes?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not too bad.
15,
yeah, like...
15 to 20.
I mean, I still think I need to benefit from actually watching Rebels and actually watching all of Clone Wars, which I still haven't done. I watched the finale of Clone Wars, but I never watched all of Clone Wars in the middle. There's a lot of episodes.
Have you watched? I know you started Clone Wars at one point. How far did you get?
I watched up to season 3, I believe. I might have watched 4.
Okay, because if you watched season 3, because season 3 has the Mortis arc.
I watched that. Which season is the one where Darth Maul fights Sidious with his brother?
5.
Is that season 5? Okay, I didn't get that far. I watched the first 4 seasons then.
Okay.
Of it. I think I started 5. I think the first 2 episodes have got like a very, very young Saw Gerrera in, if I remember rightly, at the beginning of season 5.
That's 4.
Oh, is it?
Because Maul disappears at the end of season 3-ish and doesn't come back till season 5.
I think the last episode I watched was whichever one was the Saw Gerrera one. So maybe that was in 4 then. Maybe I just got that far.
Which is literally like it's the Vietnam War and the Iranian conflict and a lot of other things rolled into one.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
Like, it was getting better. I think I just got distracted by something else. But I don't want to just pick it up from season 4. I kind of want to go back to the beginning and try and watch it again, which I did try and do. I did try and do, and I didn't get very far with it.
Yeah, maybe just pick it up. That's kind of how the show works.
Yeah.
It's fine that you do that.
And every time I had to keep starting with the fucking 2008 Clone Wars movie, which is terrible, which isn't fun. But anyway.
Like, there are 2 episodes that, like, take place around that.
Yeah.
Or no, before that. Both of them are before that. One of them's in season 1, the other one's in season 2.
Mm-hmm.
Because in season 2, you've got Bail Organa on Christophsis, which is where that takes place at the beginning, sending word to Obi-Wan to help him because he's their only hope.
Yeah, the structure. Thanks, Filoni.
He says that.
Yeah.
Bail Organa says that.
Yeah.
Help us, General Kenobi. You're only.
And then he turns to the camera and winks.
Well, no, his transmission cuts out. That's what it was. I wasn't suddenly beatboxing poorly.
Or it's like Dark Helmet in Spaceballs where he just turns and goes, "Everybody got that?" Anyway, let us know your thoughts on Andor season 1. Did it catch you by surprise? Did you enjoy it? Maybe you hated it. Maybe you're just really ambivalent towards it. Anything regarding Andor, please do let us know. Love to have a conversation with you guys and share your opinions on it.
Maybe you loved it. Maybe somebody bashed your head against the cement ground. And
we're not saying the 2 are linked.
I'm not saying the 2 are linked. I'm just saying it happened.
But it is worth noting. Yeah. Okay, for my stuff, follow me on Twitter. That's the place where I post the most. And usually I'll let you guys know when I'm going live, although I didn't do it tonight for this one, but it's fine. Give me a follow on Hobbit Fan Editor. At Hobbit Fan Editor. I occasionally post stuff on there. Best way, though, subscribe to the channel. There will be more content. We're quickly moving into the month of December. People are getting festive and stuff. I'm just going to be diving into more Tolkien stuff. It's the 10th anniversary of An Unexpected Journey, which I do have a date for, actually. It was originally released on the 12th of December, which I've checked is a Monday this year. So I don't know what your Mondays are looking like. I don't know what your 12th of December is looking like, but maybe we'll do a live watch along. There'll be Hobbit content. There's also the 20th anniversary of The Two Towers, which probably a week after that we'll also be doing coverage on. So there's a lot of stuff I'm going to be. Say that again.
But I do work Mondays, but I'm actually my schedule has shifted to the left, so I'll be getting in an hour earlier and leaving an hour earlier starting next week.
Okay, well just let me know. Just let me know. It could be cool to do something, definitely. So yeah, more Tolkien content is on the way if that's your thing. And if I do eventually get round to Tales of the Jedi, hey, we'll do another video on that. There's also the Wednesday Addams series, which has just been released, the new Tim Burton series. I'm a massive Tim Burton fan, and I really want to watch it.
Better only release reviews of that on Wednesday.
I'll do my best. I'll do my best. If I did, I think it's on Netflix, so all the episodes are out. I'll just review it. I'll review it on a Wednesday. Sure. Fuck it. Why not? And one final time, are you ready for this? We kind of nailed it last time, but tell people where they can find you and what you've got planned.
So, hello, my name is JXEditor. You can find me at
okay.
youtube.com/JXEditor. It's down there, like I said. And I do things.
Excellent. There we do it, guys. Have a very good night. We'll catch you on the next video. Have a good one.
Grogu will bring balance